Oh, we're Hello, welcome everybody. We are so excited to have you here today to join us for this session, which is part of our International Education Week festivities here at Harper. The session that you're attending today actually is a joint session that is sponsored both by the Office of International Education at Harper and Access and Disability Services. And we are so fortunate to have guests both in person and joining us virtually. I will warn you that this is our first time attempting such a hybrid event, so we hope that there are not any hiccups, but if there are, you know why. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that the last few years.
Yeah, I think it's a first time for a lot of us, so fingers crossed, we hope it goes well. Yes. Before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of an overview of this session today and also introduce you to our presenters and our facilitator. The first thing I will mention, though, is I know that some of you are here for classes, or you might be here because you have somebody who told you to be here. But I'll also say we want to keep a record of who attended. So Angelica is going to be passing around a sign-in sheet. If you could please put your name, whether you're student, faculty, or staff, and also if you're here for a class, what class that is. So the way that this event's going to be organized is it's going to take like the format of a panel discussion. So we have a moderator, Mizan Rahman. He's online. And so he'll be facilitating the panel discussion, and we have two panelists who will be answering questions. After that panel discussion, we will have time for a question and answer session where you, the audience members, can answer questions or ask questions that you would like. We have some note cards that we will pass out at the beginning of the session so that if you have questions that you think of during the conversation, you can write those down so that you can then ask them during the question and answer session. So let me introduce you to our facilitator and panelists today. So Mizan Rahman, our facilitator, he's a disability rights activist, scholar, and entrepreneur. He's the founder of Connecting Dots International, or CDI. He's been recognized as the Forbes 30 Under 30 for his leadership in disability rights movement in Bangladesh. He did his doctorate from the University of Illinois at Chicago in disability studies. He received awards including the 2021 Chancellor's Student Service Award, as well as the 2021 Jane Addams Distinguished Service Award. Mizan is a fellow at the Asia-Europe Foundation and the Global Leadership Initiative Atlas Corps Incorporated. One of our panelists, Noah Ohashi, who is also online, was born in Fukushima, Japan. He currently works as a disability community organizer for two organizations, Chicago Adapt, a disability rights organization, and Connecting Dots International. In 2020, Noah's story was shared by former President Barack Obama during the celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities. And last but not least, Lissy Desai, who's joining us in person today, earned her master's degree with honors in public administration at Kennesaw State University in Georgia. She has worked with and for persons with disabilities in Bangladesh, focusing on higher education, employment, and reproductive and human rights. Lissy advocates for women with disabilities and believes that through higher education, they can be more independent and self-reliant. So please welcome our facilitator and guests, and Mizan, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much for introducing us, and it is a wonderful and excited moment for us to have an opportunity to share the diversity and disability culture and its diversity from global perspectives. And we have two different wonderful speakers with have extensive experience and knowledge in this field. So welcome the panel to speakers. Can you hear me? Excellent.
we can hear you.
All right. And before going to our honorable panelists, I just want to thanks to the or- participants for today's because we are, it's really inspiring for us that you have the passions and interest to learn about disability culture from a global perspectives. And also, thanks for organizing this event and connect the Connecting Dots International team with this event. So, uh, I'm not going to talk that much because my goal is to like facilitate and help our speakers to so that they can share their experience and their thoughts and learnings for us. So at the very beginning, I would like to ask both of our speakers to share about a little bit like yourselves, like introduce yourselves and your talk about a little bit your countries, I mean, home countries and what you are doing currently here. So first I want to go to uh, Noah.
Hi everyone, I'm Noah Ohashi and I'm from Japan. And I came to US to study disability study for in 2018 and I graduated from Master with Education on May 2022. And currently I'm doing quality assessor, which is people listen. This call is monitored for quality insurance purposes and assess the sales representative. That's my job.
Excellent, Noah. So you recently graduated from the University of Illinois Chicago, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So, Lisi Desai, could you please share about yourself?
Okay, thank you for having me today, and I'm very glad to be here. My name is Lisi Desai. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I graduated in Master of Public Administration at Kennesaw State University in 2020 May. And after that, I worked in several organizations in there. Currently, I am working with reproductive justice and also voting rights in Georgia. So that is my current state. And another thing is that I have come from Bangladesh. And yeah, I have come to this country with many dreams, you know. And one of the goal was to pursue my Harvard education at the U.S. university. Another was to get married and having my own family, because there's a long story, but long story short, that disability condition or the situation is not that suitable or congenial for people with disabilities in Bangladesh in some respects, especially for women with disabilities. And yeah, and also to try my luck because I want to be a good professional. I want to develop myself as a professional. So I also want to try that opportunity in here. So
Okay.
I'm here today. Thank you.
All right. So one interesting thing to me, and I believe also to the audience, like we want to learn, as you have spent a significant time in your life in your country, your home country, and now you have already you are spending time here, and you have experience going to school or institutions for your academic purpose. Both of you have. So I'm interested to learn about what are the challenges you faced in your home country, and do you think in the United States you are also facing some challenge? If yes, then what are the difference between those kind of challenges? So Noah, you can go first again.
Okay. So I faced more disability discrimination in Japan because simply we don't have a law that protect people with disabilities. Recently, we had a bill, but so we can legally discriminate people with disability just because they have disabilities. For example, it's really hard to get education with as a non-disabled people. Like from 3 years old, you go to the school specifically to with people who have a disability, and non-disabled people go to specifically non-disabled people school. And if you start having a disability, you need to go to the disabled school. And that is really segregated education, and that stops people to get employment, that stops people to be independently living in the community. So that ends up to people to be living in the institution. So not many people who have a severe disability can live in the community. That's the biggest challenges that we face. And so basically we're segregated from really young age, and that segregation is we face a lot. And that is a challenges that I face too because of my disabilities. But my mother was fighter, so I was lucky that my mom fought for me to have a better education and have a could have an education with non-disabled peers. Um, on the other hand, in the U.S., I faced housing issue. Finding affordable, accessible housing it's really hard to find the housing that matches my needs and the price. And I don't know why even the Fair Housing Act and every laws are in the US, but still it's really hard to find the housing. That was my challenge that I faced. And in Japan, we still have a housing in the city mandates that if they have a 10 units, they need to have 2 wheelchair accessible housing, and it's really cheap. So I never faced that discrimination. So housing discrimination is the challenges that I faced in the US. I think there's a little bit differences because in the US it's more inclusive. So you face more challenges when you get adult.
Mhm. There's a different there challenges both places there are challenges but in different form.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right. Thank you for sharing from your personal experience as well. That mm, give us more sense to understand what the challenges look like in your home country and here. All right. Okay, so same question for Lisi. Like in your when you are growing in your country, what kind of challenges you have experiences and what you see in here? Is there any similarities or difference, different challenges in here you can describe?
Thank you for the question. And yeah, as you mentioned that when growing up, my life story is different than any other one. Like I didn't have my disability during my birth. I developed my disability during my master's in Bangladesh. So after that, growing up, I didn't have that much experience or knowledge about the disabled people. But suddenly, when I developed my disability during my master's, then I entered into a whole new world because that was a totally different world I see. That people see each other very differently. So the challenges that in our country for the people with disabilities are that there are social and religious stigma towards people with disabilities. So that is I think, the basic challenges for a person to be disabled in that country, in Bangladesh. And another thing is that there is also, of course, accessibility issues. the infrastructure, the transport, the housing and other offices are not accessible at all. So that is another challenges. And after I have developed my disabilities, so I faced those challenges because though I developed my disabilities, but I didn't want to stop because I had my education and I wanted to work, so I wanted to be self-dependent. So that's why I wanted to work, and then I needed support. My family actually supported me all throughout that times in Bangladesh. And another thing is that I had to go to the office every day. So the transport was a major issue, because the public transport is not accessible at all. But yeah, in some of the cases, there are seats for the disabled person, but you have to get up the bus then to have that seats. So the buses are not accessible. So that is one thing. And as I mentioned, that the social stigma, and the biggest one that I faced in my country for personally is because I was then a grown-up girl. So it is obvious that I will get married and have my own family, right? But the society was not in favor of me. And so because, in our traditional society, the women do all the household stuff, raising baby and household things, cooking, all the things. So how can a girl with disabilities can manage all of these things? So that is one of the taboo, you can say. So that's why I was denied of that right. But I didn't stop. And I'm lucky, I would say, that I have found one man that loved me, and he also loves me still. So that's how I got him. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning, that as I found the situation was not favorable to me, I came to the United States and formed my own family. So these are the challenges. And another challenges I had, like in the discrimination in the workplace, because it's very real in there. Because people with disabilities, I have met several students with disabilities. They have their education, but the employers are not likely to appoint any disabled person as an employee. So that is one of the biggest barriers for the persons that have already education, already have their qualification. Still they are discriminated. And in some cases, when they may be hired, but they are not get promoted, they remain on the same position throughout their lives. So these are the discrimination, very obvious and very real in my country. And the situation when I came, when I came here, yeah, everything looks very perfect in here. Like, because I went to school, there I didn't have any issue with the accessibility, because my husband drive to my school and pick up from there. So everything went very well. But I would say the accessibility issue is still, we have something to do with that, because we love to travel and we travel around all of the places and see that not all the places are 100% accessible in the US. And another thing is that we sometimes used to find for family bathroom, our bathroom for all type of genders, because I need some help with that one. So some of the places have, that is very nice, but other places don't have. So I think that could be an issue in here. And Other thing is that I am trying to get an employment. So what I am finding in here that the employers or the people will not tell you that we are not hiring as because you are disabled, but they do, some of them do this technically, that because there is a law in place, so they cannot discriminate any person publicly or directly, but they can do it invisibly or technically. So these are the challenges still in place in the US as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lacey, for sharing a little bit details with some examples. That makes sense. I have another I want to learn from a different perspectives about the challenges. Like, can you specific some challenges from the attitudinal purpose? I mean, different perspectives people has. It can be attitudes. I know you're talking about the social barrier and the infrastructural barriers. How about attitudinal barriers? If you have if you have something to share with that.
Yeah, thank
Here
you.
or okay.
Sorry, no, go first.
So attitudinal barrier is people think people with disabilities are sick. That's the biggest and need to be protected in certain ways. That's the Japanese way. So the attitudes might sometimes not directly, when I try to get on the train or something, the driver don't ask me what I want to go, where I want to go. They ask my friends where I want to go. And that is treating me like a childish, and that kind of barrier is existing.
Mm-hmm. So do you face any attitudinal barriers or challenges in US?
Oh, in the US is I experienced the we call the inspiration porn. You're so inspiration, even though I didn't do anything, and that's one kind of attitudinal barrier that I experience a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Even though this kind of attitude is same in our culture. Lisa, do you have anything to share on that point?
Yeah. Thank you for this question. And I would like to, because Noah has mentioned some of these things that we also have in our country. Like I mentioned that I discovered a whole new world after my disability. So I did feel that when people looked at me, I did feel that I am an alien, because their perspectives, their views totally changed, and that was so shocking for me, because I was part of them. Now they started saying like, you are like this. I mean, you are not part of us. You are part of something else. So that is one of the first attitudinal barriers that I faced at the earlier stage of my disability. And another thing is that, yeah, as Nawape mentioned, that people, the families, especially the parents, don't like to show up their disabled child. They would usually like to keep them inside the house, not bring them to the community life. So these are the things, because the family consider itself as a shame, or maybe they consider itself as their sin. If you think of religiously, that if they might have done something wrong, that's why the child is the outcome of their wrongdoing. So this kind of attitude persists in our culture as well.
Yeah, I wanted to add that in my culture, if you have a disability, it means that your ancestry did something bad, and that need to be repaired somehow. The sin needs to be repaired, and that is another stigma that we experience a lot. And also, when Lizzie was talking about the family, I recently got married, but my parents said, "Are you sure you want to marry this disabled person?" And I was like, "Oh my god, my own parents are talking crap about me." Because of my disability, and I think that's another culture that they don't think that's insensitive thing to say about it. And the culture aspect of barrier that is against people with disability is really stigmatized in Japan too.
Yeah, these are very actually, when we hear it look interesting, but these are very sad things for us. I mean, in the disabled community, for us, that the way people see us, like others, or excluded us from the mainstream community, and uh, not, that is the one of the worst things we experience in this community. I just quickly share one of the things, as I'm from uh, you talk about the religious perspectives from the Muslim religious peoples. They have another view. It's a culture. It's not religious things. The Muslim religious culture, like they think, okay, if somebody has disabilities and if we serve him or her, then we'll get a lot of rewards. So they don't want to give a chance to do something to you. They want to do everything for you, because they believe by serving you they are going to get a reward. And that practice actually uh, is huge. I mean, people is really dedicated and desperate to do that kind of things. That, by the way, thank you for sharing those perspectives. I have one more question about, like, what are the accommodation systems in your home country, and did you find any difference while you were studying here in these countries and institutions? What are the different accommodations you enjoy or you felt you needed? Yeah, no, I
Thank you.
can go ahead first.
Thank you. So my hometown, my home country, Japan. At the time, I applied for the college, but I was denied due to my disability, and they specifically wrote me I passed the exam, but I didn't get in because of my disability. And they said that they claim that if something emergency happens, that college cannot take care of you. And I'm like, I don't need to take care of you. But, so I didn't experience any accommodation uh, in in Japan. And when I came to the US, because I never experienced accommodation, I didn't know what kind of accommodation I can get. So I got all the accommodation that the um, Disability Resource Center provided to me. But I learned that there's more accommodation that I can get if I ask. I didn't know that I need to ask more, and I can ask more. That 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 component was I didn't know about it. And the biggest accommodation that I feel that it was great was um, paratransit system the university have that helped me a lot, especially in the Chicago winter time. It's really brutal, and having a transit system that allow you to go more independently to the college, it's really significant to the quality of life. So I think that was the great, most number one accommodation that I found as accessibility.
All right, Noah. So, yeah, Lissy, same question for you about your experience enjoying accommodations in your home country and here.
Thank you for the question. And yes, I know in Bangladesh, and I already mentioned that during my study, I developed my disability, but by that time, I already finished my study. So disability was not a concern for me during my study, especially. But I know the premises of the campuses and the buildings are not accessible at all, because now I think that if I had disability um, since my birth, I don't have, go to that college or go to that university that I have studied already, because there is lack of accommodation. Because I saw some students with visual impairment in my university, that is the Dhaka University in Bangladesh, and they used to live in one dormitory, but in the regular with the other regular students, but they didn't have any specific accommodation for them. So these are the things. And as I mentioned, the buildings are not wheelchair accessible at all in Bangladesh. So I would like to say that in here, when I came here and started going to the university, I was very much impressed because I needed accessibility, So with my wheelchair, I found that the classroom and the building are accessible for me. And I had some opportunity to go to the disability center at my university. So I saw that there is good arrangement for people with other students with other disabilities, like taking the exam in a different room, quiet room. So they have several arrangement for students with disabilities in Bangladesh, and they have also note taker, sign language interpreter. So these are the services are in place in that university. So I believe in other universities in the US also might have similar accommodation. The one thing I would like to mention about the accommodation is that many of the students with disabilities from Bangladesh, they want to come to the United States, but the thing is that some of them might not be that independent, in their daily life. So they need some assistance, maybe from their parents or from any other relatives. But when they want to come to the United States, they find it very hard, in finding assistance, because that might be very costly, or the university system doesn't provide that personal assistant. At least I know that at Canso that I studied, they don't provide any personal assistance for any student with disabilities. But yeah, and I mentioned these things because there are many students with disabilities in Bangladesh and around the world. And if there is any, system or any policy that we could provide some of the personal assistance for those students with disabilities, that's how we can change those students' life, because international exposure is very important because for a person's life, especially for a person with disabilities. So that is my recommendation, that if there is any policy and if there is any system in place, that would be great for students with disabilities from the other countries.
Yeah, I can just quickly share one experience from Bangladesh. In 2014, I'm talking about a few years back, one of the university, I went to a professor to help one of the blind students that she need an accommodations, like a scriber who can write on behalf of her in the exam. And the professor, and thus directly said, so she is blind, it is her bad luck. So what can I do? So very straightforward. So there is no centrally system to provide accommodation for the students with disabilities in our country. Even though there is a policies, we are lucky that we have very updated policies in our country in Bangladesh. But the reality is, only one university we found in our in the country that has a disability resource center, but that is not working. There is no services there, but center is there. Yeah. So yeah, thank you sharing, Noah and Lacey, for sharing some accommodation things. So as we have understood from your profile that you both are disability rights activists. So my next question will be affiliated with that activism you did in your home country, and also you are engaged here, active here as well. So you can share both. So my question is like, what are the goals that you have work on in your activism for the disabled rights? What is your goal to accomplish through the activism? So this time maybe Noah again can go ahead.
Okay. My goal for as a disability rights activist is to have fully accessibility and fully inclusive in society. One of the things that currently I'm working on is as a Chicago Adapt. We are fighting for the accessible cab campaign, which is a lot of accessible cab are at the airport. So a lot of people with disability cannot ride at the time they want to be on the taxi, but the cab is really important for especially wheelchair user to get on and go to somewhere other than public transportation. And some people are not near their houses, not near their public transportation. So we're working for those campaign to be heard and demand to be heard. So we're going to see and meet with the mayor, Chicago mayor, soon to have a meeting soon with the mayor to change the system and have no waiting time for people with disabilities to be picked up like other Uber or Lyft as well. That is currently I'm working on it, but my whole goal is to be more inclusive and accessible society for people with disabilities.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. Now, yeah, this is important because without a target, a goal, right, a vision, we cannot. It is really tough to accomplish something what you want. So, and you're working for a specific area. That's very, I believe that's very beneficial for the mainstream disability rights movement. Thank you, Noah. So, Lizzie, could you please share your goals on, through the.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So in addition to Noah's goal, like accessibility and inclusion in general, my specific goal was and is also like reproductive justice for people with disabilities, especially for women with disabilities, and also the human rights of persons with disabilities, their employment opportunity, and the last one is the higher education and international exposure for students with disabilities. And in my work in Bangladesh, we worked on several projects on the reproductive justice in Bangladesh, because when we say the reproductive justice, it is very unusual for people with disabilities, especially for women with disabilities, because as I mentioned that it is a social taboo, and the women themselves also are not motivated or encouraged to take that step because of the social stigma. So that is one of the barriers, and I worked on that issue. And in here also, I am also working on the reproductive justice issue. It's not specifically for women or people with disabilities, but people of color or other community as a whole. And in terms of my human rights of person with disabilities, we facilitated training on that, like making people aware of the CRPD and human rights and Universal Declaration of the Human Rights. So these are the things that we taught to the people with disabilities in Bangladesh. So that's how they can be aware of the existing legislations and policy, and they can claim their rights. So this is in terms of human rights. And as I mentioned, that there are very little opportunity for people with disabilities in terms of employment. So we worked on some project like empowering them economically, and we funded as an organization, we funded some of the small organizations and individuals little money to start their own business, especially for women with disabilities, so they can be self-independent through that small businesses. And the last one, and for which I am most passionate about, is the education, and especially higher education for women with disabilities. All right, the student with disabilities in general, because I personally believe that if a person can pursue higher education, be it in his home country or maybe abroad, it can change his or her life dramatically, as it did my life, And also they should have opportunity to have some international exposure, because that also contributed to changing their life, because being in one country, I'm talking about the student with disabilities, because being in one country and being in one confined society that has multiple, barriers, multiple stigma around them, they should come out of that situation and have knowledge, have that experience from the outside world, that how the people, how the other country or other people in other country treat people with disabilities. They should also have knowledge, have that experience of other world as well. So these are my goals for student with disabilities. And for that one, I was engaged with Education USA, the education center in Bangladesh. So I facilitated some workshop on that, and the students with disabilities were, they were very motivated, and actually they want to learn more about the US universities, its accommodation. So they wanted to learn more about this arrangement in here. So these are my goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Lacey. I just want to share quickly and take an opportunity to share what is the goal of Connecting Dots International, as we call it CDI. So there is two goals for CDI, and I'm working with that. Number one, people know that as a human rights, but disability rights is a human rights. Still, we need to promote that concept that disability rights are human rights too. So through the Connecting Dots International, we want to promote that, and also we want to add a little bit more that the disability culture from global perspectives. We should not see disability from through a lens, specific lens. It's better to understand the diversity inside the disabilities culture. And another goals of Connecting Dots International CDI has to work with our disabled friends, peers at the in educational institutions, to help each other to accomplish our academic and professional goals. So anyone is interested to join this mainstream disability rights movements and also work with our disabled community, they can join Connecting Dots International. All its students are welcome. And that what we are doing through our organization CDI. All right, so as we have a time limitation, so maybe we'll go a little bit faster. I will have two more questions, very short. One is I want to hear from you about the intersectionality and how it play a role in movements supporting disability rights in US and also in your home country. You can share both perspectives with us. Yeah, Noah, if you can kindly go first.
Okay. Thank you. So in my home country, they don't have a concept of intersectionality. So it's really within the disability community, all the people are straight, Japanese, male people leading the movement. And it's really narrow because of it. And I think that's the importance that intersectionality play a role. For example, in the US, I'm transgender and disabled and foreigner and low income person. It plays a role of understanding multiple perspective, and it put me into the marginalized community. And so there's trans issue, there's immigrants issue, there's socioeconomic issue within the disability rights issue. So how can we think about this and working through having a concept of intersectionality is makes more inclusive and makes more allies as well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Noah. Lisipa, could you please share your thought?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in Bangladesh, yeah, it plays a critical role, I'd say, both positively and negatively. Because, you know, as a girl coming from an educated family and the family being very supportive for the higher education of a girl, so I had that background, I had those identities, and after I developed my disabilities, I had another identities, like a girl with disabilities. And it played a critical role, as I mentioned, in my movement, because when I started working on the reproductive justice, it sounds hilarious, but now it seems hilarious. But at the time, when as a girl with disabilities, I was talking about getting married and forming family for a woman with disabilities, people, it seems to very hilarious to people as well, because they said, oh, you are talking about this issue. I mean, because how can that be, you know, because you are on wheelchair, and how can come that you are talking about these issues? So these are the things that happened and impacted our activism in Bangladesh. And also, when I talked about the higher study for student with disabilities, and I try to motivate the other folks to get higher education and to try get the admission at the US universities. So in that case also, people have a different opinion, like how can a student with disabilities can go abroad by himself without any support, or how can he pursue higher education. And it is not, and they have opinion like it is not good for a student with disabilities have that much big goals in life. So these are the barriers, attitudinal barriers that I have faced in my home country. And coming in here, yeah, in the US, I didn't expect that, but you know, in this country also there is a racial injustice is very real, and being an immigrant, being women with disabilities, and being a part of the people of color, being on the social lower income social strata. So these are the factors that also impact our daily life as well, you know. So yeah, so I think the intersectionality of my identities play a vital role in my life. But yeah, but yet I cannot ignore that because I am who I am.
It's true. All right, so we're almost at the end of the panel discussion, and I have one more questions. It's not a question, it's we want to hear from you that how can people be a better ally to people with disabilities and promote inclusions and strengthen disability rights movements? And what do you think? Because we need all to make an inclusive society. We need to all participations from all peoples, right? So, what is your, as an activist, as an disability rights scholar, and what do you think?
First of all, I want to put that disability disability community is you can join anytime in your lifetime. That people will join because of their age, injury, or any other reason. So it's not so black and white, like disabled people, non-disabled people. It's not like that. It's really it should be everyone should be thinking together and come with us more solutions. And so to come here having an audience, I know here we have an audience, I cannot see it, but have today having the audience, that's one way to show the allianship. Other way is to show up at your community, disability community. Like Chicago Adapt has a meeting monthly, and we accept both non-disabled people and disabled people as a member. So showing up at the disability community and listen to the issue that we are suggesting and think together. I think that's the biggest way to show the allianship.
Thank you, Noah, for mentioning that. And yeah, again, that's true. That's all about we. It's not about me and them or others, right? It's all about we. Yeah. So, Lisa, this say.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to say that it's not like us and them. It is a total of us, you know. So the first of all, I would like to mention that stop seeing the disabled people as other. Try to see them as us, part of our total overall human being. So this is the first thing. They are also human beings, and yes, they have disabilities. They have, I mean, we have certain limitations, certain characteristics, as every other human beings, because nobody is perfect. Everybody has their own limitation. So does we. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is that don't glorify us. You know, we are just as we are. We are not a superhuman being. We are just normal, any other like you. So stop glorifying us, because it, you know, on the first instance, it gives some pleasure, you know, but in the end, it doesn't help anyway, because just praising us, just glorifying us. You just keeping us aside. You are not including us in every aspect of the lives. So stop doing that, please. And another thing is that I see many of the people seeing me on my wheelchair. They try to, give some advice like do these things, do that things, and that's how we will get better or something like that. So stop treating every disabled people alike because every being on wheelchair doesn't mean that they have the same medical condition and same reasons. So you have to understand that. This is the one thing. And other thing is, yeah, pretty much that. I think thinking of as a part of human being, I think that is the solution for every aspect. Oh, I wanted to mention another thing is that if you do whatever you can do in your own position, like if you are an employer, if you have opportunity to employ disabled students or disabled employee, you can do that. You do that. You just do that. And if you are university teacher, or if you work in the university administration, enroll as much student with disabilities as you can and create policies so that more of the student with disabilities can have their opportunities to get higher education, including the reasonable accommodation. So if you are policymakers, you work with government, to pass the required laws. So the basic thing is that if you can do something on your part, you just do it. So that's how it helps us. Otherwise, your compassion, your glorification doesn't help anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Lacey and Noah. And we had a wonderful time to listening you, your experience, and some excitement about some, the facilities, and also some thought about the challenges. So I have understanding from listening you today is like disability is diverse. It's a diverse, and it has diversity in it, and there are diversified culture in worldwide. So the people one corner of the or the this in this our world, people see disability. Some people see it as a pride, some people see it as a blessings, some people also see it sometimes it's a it's a result of sin, something like that. So but what the disability rights activists believe is it is an identity, and persons with disability has the same rights, and like everyone, or human rights and disability rights are the same things. And there are some inspirational point Noah mentioned that is super important for the disabled community, that, and also Lizzie mentioned, emphasize on it, that if individual disability do something, don't say wow you are like a superman or something like that. No, it's all about their hard work. If they accomplish something they're passionate about, that's why they are in this stage. So there are some barriers in different culture, different type of barriers, and which are not same thing in US. What Noah and Lacey was talking about, in the other countries, people feel struggle in the different way. So thank you again for joining and sharing all of your thoughts. And last point I would mention, everyone who are in this room or listening from your laptop or phone, let's join in the disability rights movement and work together to build an inclusive society, because it is not about them, it is about us. We will, if a society, a community, an institution 100% inclusive for all, that proves the civilized society, that is the civilizations. And if we say okay, this is not our part, that is their part, that is the discrimination point would begin. So let's work together and strengthen disability rights movements. And thank you again, Noah and Lissy. We'll go to the audience if they have some questions. you can answer, and that session will be, I would request Angelica, you can coordinate.
Yeah, we'll coordinate it on our end. We first want to give you all a round of applause. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. So we will open it up to the floor for questions. I will say if you're in the room and have a question, we'd like to bring the microphone to you because our attendees online will not be able to hear you unless you have the microphone. So if you have a question, you want to raise your hand. Or if any of our online attendees have questions, if you want to put those in the chat as well. Yes.
Hi. Um, it was a really nice experience to be here today and listen to you expressing your, well, what you've been through during through the years. And I would like to know, I was looking for your Facebook page, and I would like to know if you have some members from Costa Rica, because my father, he also has disabilities, and I would like to give him your contact. Maybe he can do something because he's always looking forward to help others. So I don't know if we can reach you guys by, I don't know, Facebook or the other web page. I know I already have here your website, but I would like to know if there is a possibility that maybe my father can talk to you or you know, I don't know. I just wanted to know. Thank you.
So, okay, I can, is it question for me? It's look like for me.
Yeah, any of you, any of the three of you.
Yeah, so definitely Connecting Doors International CDI, we've already mentioned that it is open for anyone. Our focus is specifically for the students community to help them each other. So if students without disabilities can join, then we help them to understand how to assist an individual with disabilities in the education inside the campus or in the local area. That is our goal. And also we promote the diversity of the, for example, if someone have from Costa Rica, the community need to know how disability looks like to them. So we bring them, we share their stories. So these are the ways we work. And so you can please connect with our social media. If you write something on our page, our team will respond and will connect you. And also there's a contact number and email. You can send us an email and we'll be happy to to connect with you and to see you joining us.
Thank you. Yes, April.
One, get involved and connected with the DOTS, with DOTS. How can that happen?
Could you please repeat? Sorry, I missed it. Is it for me? Could you please tell who will be the person to answer this question?
Okay. How can someone get involved and connect with DOTS, your organization? How can someone do
Connecting
that?
Doors International. All right. Yes. So there is a membership form, and if you go to the Facebook or in our website, in the Facebook About section, you can see there's a link. If you click on the link, you will get a membership form to fill it out, and so through this form we'll know who you are, what is your motivation, and what you want to serve with us. And then our team will communicate with you and take a very short, it's not interview, it's like knowing each other better. And this is one way. And another way you can join in our, for example, right now we are running a contest, campus-wise contest. You can join in the team. So everything will be happen. First step is you have to fill out the form. And then one of our team member will interview you to better understand you and where you fit better to work with us. Yeah, so maybe I can share the link here or the organizing team so that you can forward it to the students who are interested in. And most of the work we do right now is virtually because and we are working in different campuses, not only University of Illinois Chicago, also in other campuses as well. So anywhere you are, you can work with us.
Thank you. This question is for Noah and Lizzie. You mentioned some of the work you're currently doing. I think Noah mentioned the transportation situation with taxis and Ubers. Lizzie mentioned reproductive rights. I was just wondering if you currently work with any specific organization that you would like to talk about, and when you get engaged into an issue, how do you go about finding allies and moving forward to create a plan and start action?
Yes, so I am one of the organizer of Chicago Adapt. Chicago Adapt is way far history, like in disability rights movement. It addressed the public transportation to be fully accessible in Chicago. And now we are working for the, I said, cab to be more accessible. Our organization usually do alliance. We have every monthly meeting and find allies from each network. And we have a strong alliance with other organizations. And usually we pick the target, have a discussion, find the ally, excuse the negotiation. We call demand, but it's more actionable. So most of the times police involves. Most of the time we distract the public in good way. I don't know how to say it, but good way. But yeah, that's our organization.
Yeah, and I am part of the CDI, Connecting Dot International. So I volunteered here as a director of grant and fund development. So as Mizan already mentioned that we are working on two objectives, like creating a volunteer group that will assist the student with disabilities, or specifically student with disabilities in their non-medical support to provide them. So this is one thing, and another is we have another program that is called D4DI, Drive for Disability Inclusion. So that is based on the different campus. Every year we arrange one competition. It's kind of like a competition among the student organizations in the universities, and we ask for their proposal, like how they address disability issues or how they think of the disability issues in their organizations, or is there any disabled student in their organization or not, and we also help them to develop their policy. for including students with disabilities in their existing organizations. And that's how we are raising awareness around the campus along with other student organizations. So this is the one thing. And another thing is that we have one coordinator that is specifically responsible for the network building with other organizations. We email other organizations and to see that if we have some common ground to work on, and that's how we set meetings, talk about the issues, and actually that's how we find our potential partners.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, yep, April.
This isn't really a question for you, but for students here, what information did you find from this afternoon to be really fascinating from the workshop we just attended? Anything that you might want to share?
I found fascinating that you're working to get the cabs accessible, because there already are a lot of accessible cabs. Or maybe get more cabs accessible. Right.
Yeah,
For Noah.
yeah, it's more waiting time is
Oh, the
too
waiting
long.
time.
Yeah,
So it's less likely that they'll have to like call one specially, right?
yes.
Oh, yes, I got it.
Yeah, good question.
Another thing that I find interesting about what you're doing is that like looking out for people, like if they have a disability or how to or like interested in a like saying that like what I'm part of in the Boy Scouts, the Order of the Arrow, like I had to take a quiz to be alert for people who will probably like try to harass people. So even though I'm not a part of the program, but I'm part of another program that's gonna keep an eye out in other events.
I just want to share with our audience here that in our chat, we're also receiving feedback that they found interesting to learn how different people from different countries have different experiences and they deal with different issues handling intersectionality and disabilities.
Yeah, my question is for you. As you saw, I was sleeping a little. Sorry for that. It's because yesterday was a heavy day. So, did you say that you start to develop your disability during your studies? So, when you immerse in a new world, did you find or did you know bad people who was bad with you, with your disability? Because I cannot believe there exist people who tried bad person because has a disability is not a problem. In, has a disability involved has a little more effort but it's not a problem. So did you know something who was who who a person who was bad with you that so did you think in leaving everything, your studies, your dreams, your goals? No.
No, yeah, thanks for this question. Yeah, I didn't leave anything because as I said that it was the end of my study. So I had no difficulty in finishing up my study. So, but I had difficulty in finding job and, and doing the job. So that was my difficulties that I faced. But yeah, there were some times that I did feel that I also cannot do it because the people around me don't want me to work, But finally, I again, accumulate myself and rise again, and then found job and started working again. And after that, I'm still now, I'm trying to do this or that, maybe not professionally that much successful, but I am trying to do, keep myself busy with some kind of employment, maybe part-time, maybe temporary, maybe some other job, but I'm doing it. And also, as you can see, that I also graduated in the US university after my disability. And during my disability in Bangladesh, I applied for the international exchange program. I don't know, you have heard the name of the program, like Community Solutions Program, that is targeted and maybe 100 of the leaders, young leaders are invited. It's not invited, they got selected around the world for that program. So I also got selected for that program as well. And at the same year, I got selected for the WILD, that is Women Institute on Leadership and Disability of Mobility International USS program. So I got selected for that program as well. So, so I would say that I never stopped. I never stopped trying. I think that is the basic motto. That is the secret thing about person with disabilities, that if they try relentlessly, if they never give up, I think that is the key thing for a person with disability to go ahead.
The Access and Disability Services. So if you want to become an ally with us, you're more than welcome. You can visit our webpage. Every semester we hire note takers. We have a club hosted by our office. So if you just want to become an ally for students with disabilities that I'm sure are your peers, you can always visit our webpage, stop by our office. We're always welcoming students to become allies with us.
Thanks for that information. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you to our speakers, our facilitator, and thank you all for attending today. So.
Also, I just also want to share that a video of today's presentation will be in our YouTube channel. So if you think other people could benefit from this conversation, please let's share and make sure that we continue to. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, all the organizers, and it is a great pleasure to have today. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a great time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.